too. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Do you perhaps remember how much cost saving that led to?
I know that one booklet would cost us $12, like the entire printing booklet, because it would come as a basically looked like a book to us. So the HR director mentioned it was like $12. I mean, the
Mm,
6 months that I've been there, I never used. I mean, I used one first week or so, but when we ran out, I was like, I can print it and staple it. That's much more. So, and then we
mm,
would have or like new hire orientations every week, and maybe like between 5 to 6 employees, which are
mm.
interns and full-time hires. So, I mean, you can imagine how much money we have saved if it's twelve
Yeah,
dollars
yeah,
per
that makes
booklet.
sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. Um, so you've mentioned that you were able to implement some best practices. Can you
Hmm.
share some examples?
Sure. So with this company, another thing was that every morning, when we would come to work, is like we would have a small huddle, like the meeting, and then
Mm,
somebody would share their ideas, or somebody wants to give a shout out, but that person is not there, like, and we wouldn't know about that. So what
mm,
me and then this other girl we work on is like we brought these big giant boards and we stuck it outside our office, and we're like, any shout outs, you guys can put it right there, and make sure that you write down like who was the safety, what's the word, like,
Coordinator?
uh not the coordinator, like somebody, like who was the safety champion for this week, basically,
Ah,
who did not, who had their trainings done and he didn't have any injury. So for that, like, we would put that person's name, or that next to we would put a star. That's how I got my idea for my new job, like the one that I'm working right now. So we would give a
mm-hmm.
shout out to that person. We would put the quote of the day, and then we had the safety champion for that week.
Wonderful. Love it. So it's like small ways to recognize people. I love it.
Yes, absolutely. Like, one of the thing is like, I mean, I worked in HR, but like I have a lot of books that I read, and the motivational books, and I know like how important it is that we, make other people feel valued. And it is not something big where we have to buy them gifts, but rather just make them feel like they're valued by literally giving them small shout outs matters so much. So that's what we did I mean, that's what I've been doing in all the jobs that I've had so far.
Mm, mm, that makes sense. That makes sense. That is part of your strategy. Small
Yes,
ways reflect in a big impact.
exactly, absolutely.
Okay, love it. So I was wondering something when it comes to recruiting. Um,
Hmm.
were I imagine that the company had its own, you know, set standards kind of thing. Like, okay, we're gonna post the job listing just on 1, 2, 3 website.
Hmm.
Were you able to recommend them a new place to advertise? Like, hey, let's post it over here. You might find
Uh,
better people.
sure. We so because I work with YMCA, sorry, I'm just getting in the text. So because I work with YMCA, I kind of understood like um how much new students look into these websites where the
Mm,
schools post those jobs. So
mm,
instead of just putting on Indeed, Monster, or God knows how many nowadays they have, like so many websites. Like, why not put it on school's website? Because new hires, they not new hires, sorry, a lot of the graduates, like even me, I would look jobs at my school's website rather than looking at Indeed or somewhere else. So
true.
that was one of the things that in Griffith, like I kind of brought it to their attention. It's like, hey, I work at YMCA. We have a lot of new students who are maybe like high school graduate who are looking for internship. It's free. I mean, of course, their internship, we're not paying them anything, but they go to their school website more than they would go to Indeed. So why not just go to their either on the campuses to promote our company, or just post it on the website. So because I
Mm,
knew how the process works, because I've done it for YMCA by calling like different campuses and posting our job listing. So I let them know like, hey, this like it literally costs $7. It's
oh, that's
nothing.
it.
Like literally costs $7. You send them your job opening and they post it. I mean, maybe
Just
this
for
costs more
$7.
now, but it's like $7 per week, and it's perfect. Like, just go ahead and post it. So that's what we used to do with Griffith. So that was one of the great things that we worked on.
Wonderful. Love it. That is excellent. Okay, so that takes care of that part. Um, so one thing that you have again mentioned is like ensuring that the job listings are accurate.
Yes.
Was that a problem? I mean, like, were there mistakes in the job listings, or was it just making sure that all the information is correct? What are
No,
we
I
talking
mean,
about here?
I don't know why I wrote that there, but no, there was no. I mean, no. The job description
Error.
is not. There's no error, but because the company had their specific job listings that were written by somebody, God knows how long ago, and they were not being updated. I think that was
Hmm.
maybe why I wrote it down, because
Ah.
every manager looks for different things when it comes to their own site. It's a construction company. Yes,
Hmm.
it's an estimator job, but maybe some manager would want their estimator to have another form of experience. So before posting a job, I would honestly go to the manager and be like, "Hey, this is the job description that was probably wrote by somebody. You have no idea, but is there anything that you want to add?" So that way we know that it's accurate. This is what you're looking for, and this is what people are going to apply for. So make sure that you run it by your director and see if this is everything that you need. If not, then let us know what you want to add or take out.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, that makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense. How was the team in this case? Like again, like we're talking about roughly 600 people, union and non-union.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
what were they like? Were they happy? Were there issues that you saw that okay, there's a very clear problem over here, generally speaking, that I need to solve?
um the people that I interacted with a lot, I did not interact with a lot of like union employees because of where the company was placed, because we were like in Brea. A lot of the
Ah,
union employees are basically on their construction sites, so I wouldn't say that as much I interacted with them, so I do not honestly know how they were. But the people who were working in that position, like in that company, the non-union, they
mm,
were really happy about it. I mean, they were really happy. The only thing that I kind of saw was the only thing that I kind of saw was basically being able to uh receive being able to get feedback, if that makes sense.
okay.
One of the things that I felt like that was lacking, like not a lot of people were giving them feedback of how they're doing, and some companies, some people
Oh,
really like that. It's like, hey, let me know if I'm doing good, if I'm performing
yeah, that's
well.
me. That's me. I need to know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I need it. I mean, like me, I would want to know about my manager, like how I'm doing, because if you don't tell me, how would I know? I mean, I
Yes,
can do
exactly.
something wrong, but if you don't tell me, how would I know? So that's one of the
And
things that
plus,
I. Sorry, go ahead.
like, like when you are someone who is driven by good performance, it is
Yeah,
nice to know that you did this well. Keep doing it. So positive
absolutely.
behavior gets reinforced.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like if you're not telling, maybe somebody is doing something for a thousand time wrong, and you may
Mm,
criticize them for something behind their back, but you're not telling them, how would they know? So that was one of the things that I felt like that was lacking, and that's where we were. Me and there was an HR administrator. We had this open door policy. I literally had
mm,
every single person. I was like, and I bought snacks. I put it on my table. I was like, you know what? You are most welcome to come and get snacks. At the same time, I
mm.
had a bucket where it said, any advice, put 1 cent in there. So people would literally walk in there, put a cent, and be like, hey, I want to talk to you. So that was
Nice.
something very cool, like where people would coming, even to vent, they would come here. They would just take off their frustration. I would listen to them, and they would leave, because I felt like that was some of the things they probably did not have, where nobody was there for them to listen to their issues. Um,
Mm.
it can be anything. It doesn't have to be work related. Even their personal life, people will come be like, "Hey, I'm having issue with my kids." Well,
Can I
somebody
talk?
would say like, yeah, can I talk about it? Like that was one of the things that I would do very often. Is like, hey, for one cent, I'm ready to give you advice. But that I did. I mean, it was funny, but
Nice.
it was really cool thing.
It's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very like we all are so stressed. You know, work can be really
Yeah.
stressful. Personal life can be stressful. So it was
Yeah.
something that I really did. It was cool.
Yeah, and someone just listening to you can just reduce that load off your shoulders immediately, which ultimately
Absolutely.
leads to a better work environment. So that's excellent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I personally feel like with big companies like that, we should definitely have a counselor or, you know, a psychologist or a therapist. I mean, every single company says, oh, yeah, we have external therapist counselor. You can call this number and someone will reach out to you. I don't think so that's necessary. I feel like somebody with
On
that
site.
job title should be on site ready for anybody if they want to talk about it.
Yep, I agree 100%. Okay, so that is lovely. And oh, okay, my word just froze. Oh my god. Okay,
Uh-oh.
never mind. Never mind that. Um. Okay. Oh, okay. So then we've talked about the application screening process.
Yeah.
Um, when it comes to their HRIS system,
Hmm.
were was there any problem on that front, or was that smooth?
To me, I mean, honestly, to me, I felt like it was such a long process. And
Hmm.
plus, like, if you made any mistakes accidentally, there's no way to find out what you added. So basically, every single person you will create a code like employee number for employee, right? And then
Hmm.
but accidentally what happened, you selected somebody else's name and you created a code accidentally for them. Whatever changes that you made for that person, it's not going to reflect on the system. Now you have to go through the
Oh,
IT department and be like, hey, you know what, I did some changes, I think I did it wrong, but I don't know what I did. Now the
oh,
IT department has to figure out. I felt like that was some one of the things that I didn't like because I'm pretty much sure every system has that locking program where if you're working on something, if you make another changes to somebody else's profile, it flashes. It didn't do that with that system. I couldn't figure it out because I'm not an IT person. I'm not great at it, but I I I brought it to the attention of the HR directors like, hey, if we can work on some kind of software where we have this blocking system, is like one time when you complete somebody's profile and while
hmm,
you're working on somebody else's profile, it doesn't let you change anything accidentally. Like if it should flash, it should ask you like, hey, are you sure that you want to make changes
exactly.
to this person's name? Like that was another thing that I don't like because I would sometimes accidentally like make changes and now I don't know what I did.
Hmm. I get it. Okay, I love that you brought that up. And do you know if they implemented something on your recommendation or not?
I don't think so. I mean, when I was there, because of course, like I was there for 6 months. It was a new system. It kind of took me a while to understand the system. By the time I understood, it was time for me to go. So I don't
Ah,
honestly, I don't even know if they made any changes to that. Honestly speaking.
okay, no problem. But the very fact that you were able to identify, like, hey, this is a possible improvement point, that's
Yes.
excellent. That works.
Yes. Thank
Uh,
you.
um, okay, then let's. Actually, wait. Is there anything else we should talk about from the HR side before we talk about the safety elements? Um, yes, compliance. Um,
Hmm.
again, like because now in this company it was a mix of union and non-union, so I
Yes.
imagine there was a lot more policies that had to be kept an eye on, right?
Yes.
So was everything all right? Were they following regulations?
Um. Again, because I did not stay there for so long. I wouldn't honestly know much, but my basically
Got it.
job was to make sure that uh, our compliance like documentations are available for the people who need it, and the system is up to date. And then we have somebody. If something happens, we have somebody to reach out to us because if let's let's say somebody had a safety issue, they have to immediately involve their managers, so the managers can go to safety department or the HR department and let them know like, hey, this happened, so we can follow through with the documentation. But like
Mm.
individually, I wouldn't know that. I mean, I only knew about it when a manager would come and approach us like, hey, you know what, I have documentation to provide you guys because we had a safety issue or we had a health issue or we
I
had
see.
somebody got tripped, somebody fell down, what do you need to do? So these kind of things I took care of.
It was more administrative then instead
Yes,
of.
yes,
Okay.
yes. It's
Okay.
not like very uh, hand on. Like it's more of
Mm.
basically letting them know what kind of documentation we need and what would be my advice if there's a
Mm.
situation.
Okay. And this applies for the OSHA trainings as well?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And you've mentioned that you also had to coordinate some of them. So, like, how many trainings did you coordinate during your short time here?
We would have trainings every 2 weeks because we had so many employees and then every employee had to be up to date. So there's like OSHA 30 and there's like OSHA 50 and God knows how many trainings that falls under each training. So we had to make sure that all employees are up to date plus they're taking their training regularly. So we that's
Mm.
why we used to have like two trainings per week, and I have to like coordinate with different managers on trainings. If the managers are not available, then when can we coordinate? When can we do the training? And if we do not have any training for that week, how can we just get outsiders? Like, because I mean, I didn't know like who are the outsiders, I just knew the managers. So we had to get people from outside to do the trainings as well. So that was one of the things that I used to like check the calendar, coordinate with the managers, email them, provide them with the information of how many trainees that we would have and what kind of trainings do they need.
Wonderful. Love it. Um, did you have the opportunity to train or coach any people here?
Not some. I think the only person I would say would be the intern, like the HR intern that we had on site. That was one of the person that I coached
Mm.
with because it was basically my the job duties that I had. I had to teach the person exactly what I was doing and how I was interacting with employees, and if because it was an internship position, so it was basically my job telling my duties, my job, my day-to-day duties to that person. So I wouldn't say like I had to coach that person, but rather train that person, like model
To
training.
take over?
Sorry.
Were you also training them to take over? Because, like you said, that this was a contract position,
Yes,
and
yes. I mean, mine was a contract position, but I was paid. But that was an intern who was like free. I mean, they weren't paying for it, so that was basically taking over my position. By the same time, they were not paid, so it was like free of charge for them.
would you say that you did something above and beyond to ease that transition? Like, you knew that, okay, I'm going to leave
Yeah,
eventually. Let me just
yeah.
make this a little easier for the person who's going to take over.
So I was hired because somebody went on a pregnancy leave, maternity leave. So
Hmm.
even though the person was supposed to return within a week, I returned. I made sure that whatever I did, I made a log off of it. This is something I've done in my previous job. Is like whatever I do that I think is very important for the other person to know. I literally made a like workbook, like a word log of it, like what I did, how I did it, and where are the items. Because when she went, I was given her office, and I was told like, this is your office. Just do it as you want. Like change things,
Yeah.
do whatever
Oh
how you
boy.
want it. But I didn't want to change